China is preparing for war. It has 2.2 million active military personnel, and a bigger navy than the United States. It has also developed hypersonic missiles, which can evade US defences and carry nuclear warheads. The territories it may soon fight to claim are in the South China Sea, where it has built more than 25 military bases in international waters, and Taiwan, the independent democratic island that President Xi Jinping says must eventually come back under mainland rule. China's resolve is clear, but apart from the build-up of hardware and personnel, what is its strategy? The answer, as Sun Tzu said in the classic 5th century BC military handbook, Art of War, comes as much from the United States as it does from China. The opportunity of defeating the enemy is provided by the enemy himself. China's rhetoric towards the US has become more aggressive since Joe Biden became president and commander-in-chief in 2021. One of the first diplomatic exchanges was in Alaska in March 2021, when Chinese diplomat Yang Jiechi issued a warning.
在中国的面前说，你们从实力的地位出发同中国谈话。
So let me say here that in front of the Chinese side, the United States does not have the qualification to say that it wants to speak to China from a position of strength.
China's resolve is reflected in the demeanour of President Xi, who in 2018 convinced the People's Congress to drop 2-term limits on the presidency, and now may be ruler for life. Biden's demeanour, by contrast, is not always as calm or consistent.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
The press always asks me, don't I wish I were debating him? No, I wish we were in high school, I could take him behind the gym.
Biden himself seems slightly confused about the US's policy towards Taiwan.
So are you saying that the United States would come to Taiwan's defense if China attacked?
Yes, we have a commitment.
The White House immediately released a statement correcting the president, saying there had been, quote, no change in our policy. The US defense relationship with Taiwan is guided by the Taiwan Relations Act. We will uphold our commitment under the Act, we will continue to support Taiwan's self-defense, and we will continue to oppose any unilateral changes to the status quo, the official said. Biden had forgotten there's no commitment to defend Taiwan in the Act. China too noticed that Biden misunderstood the agreement, saying the US should be cautious in its words and deeds on the Taiwan issue, and refrain from sending any wrong signals to the separatist forces of Taiwan independence, so as not to seriously damage China-US relations, peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. Biden's confusion is not new. Bob Gates, the defense secretary under George Bush and Barack Obama from 2006 to 2011, said in 2014 that Biden, quote, has been wrong on nearly every major foreign policy and national security issue over the past 4 decades. Biden's foreign policy objectives change over time. In February 2020, before being elected president, he told CBS's Margaret Brennan, "There's 1,000 places we could go to deal with injustice. I can think of 10 countries where women and or children and or people are being persecuted or being hurt. But the idea of us going to be able to use our armed forces to solve every single internal problem that exists throughout the world is not within our capacity." But in October last year, he railed.
We have fewer democracies in the world today than we did 15 years ago. Fewer, not more, fewer. Cannot be sustained. That's why from day one of my administration, I've taken concrete steps to put human rights back at the center of our foreign policy.
One of those struck off the list of putative democracies is Afghanistan, which the US abandoned in August. The US military, too, is less intimidating than it once was. Since Biden became president, it has increased its focus on political correctness at the expense of military strength. Last year, it relaxed its grooming standards to be more inclusive of women and minorities.
So if that's something we can accommodate to enable emotional well-being or to enable you personally in terms of how you want to represent yourself as a soldier, and the Army is good with that, then why not make that change?
The political correctness has reached all the way up to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley.
And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white.
Even Russian President Vladimir Putin has noticed that the United States is not as virtuous as it once was.
The Bolsheviks were absolutely intolerant of other opinions, different from their own. And I think this should remind you of something that is happening. And we see what is happening in the Western countries. It is with puzzlement that we see the practices Russia used to have and that we left behind in distant past. The fight for equality and against discrimination turns into an aggressive dogmatism.
Russia has amassed more than 100,000 troops on the border with Ukraine, whose independence Russia has disputed since it was liberated by the breakup of the Soviet Union back in 1991. Biden said in December that US troops will not be deployed to defend Ukraine, but will impose sanctions if Russia invades. The initiative is all Putin's. China will be watching closely. Philip Ritchie, Sky News.